All right, just picture this. Black shorts, white rainbow bands, cruising across the Arenberg. Pogačar, like, put it straight in my veins. It's amazing. Welcome back to the Spin Cycle Podcast, everybody. I'm Kaylee Fretz. Today on the show, Tadej Pogačar and our prediction coming true. Visma is riding time trial helmets in road races. Astana is full of it. And Egan Bernal might be back. Let's get to it. Welcome back, everybody. Should I say
Hello.
hi?
Hello.
Johnny Long, welcome to the show.
What's up? Hello. Welcome.
Roden McLaughlin, welcome.
Thank you. How's it going?
Good. Kit Nicholson,
Good.
welcome back.
Hello. I wasn't sure if you were going to... You're just blurting out my name. Kit Nicholson!
Yeah. That's what I do. All right, let's get right into today's episode. We've got a good one to kick off with because overnight, at least over my night, I woke up this morning and 6 different people had sent me a very specific clip of a very specific rider by riding in a very specific place. Tell me what happened.
The rider you're talking about, Kaylee, is Tadej Pogačar, who we knew was riding around Flanders yesterday. We presumed it was a bit of recon for the Tour of Flanders, which he's already down for. But then Tim Wellens, trusty Tim Wellens, his UAE Team Emirates XRG teammate, posted a video of Tadej Pogačar just absolutely ripping it on the Arenberg. And the special shout out before we get into it for Tim Wellens, who him recording Pogačar so well, like riding it. I think that's a thing that will get lost into this story. But
he's on the little path on the side.
Yeah.
True, but still, like
it's still impressive.
Yeah,
ripping it. Well, so this obviously raised the specter of Tadej Pogačar racing Roubaix, right? This is the thing that people were sending. It was the comment underneath the video when they were sending it to me. Do we think this is going to happen? I think I posited at the beginning of the year. This was my prediction that he's going to race and win Paris-Roubaix. Now, granted, it was a bit of a punt, and I think he did the same thing last year. I'm pretty sure he posted a video, or 2 years ago, posted a video of him doing this and then didn't race Roubaix anyway. But it's not beyond sort of the realm of possibility here because it is Pogačar. He did go down.
He'll do it someday.
He'll probably do it someday. What do we think?
I think 2 years ago he won Flanders, and then like a couple of days later he posted pretty much not the video, but he posted a picture of himself at Arenberg and said something even more suggestive that he was about to race Paris-Roubaix and then just didn't. So I think he's in the area. Those places are not far apart, and he was maybe just knowing the reaction that it would get.
Sorry, yeah. I mean, I don't know. None of us really know, and I'm pretty certain he will race it someday. Not sure why that shouldn't be this year, to be honest. But for the same reason that we talked about him not racing the Vuelta last year, i.e., don't piss off your teammates who also want to win races. Niels Pollitt is one of the, I mean, I'm not suggesting that Niels Pollitt is more of a favourite than even Pogačar would be, to be honest. But this is a big classics guy who's just come over. Tim Wellens, of course, also likes a classic. So if Pogačar turns up to every single race, it starts to get a bit difficult for the rest of UAE. Now, I'm just offering that as a potential, devil's advocate offering. But I don't know.
Can I counter argument? Because I think I made this prediction, and then Ronan, you said he might do it as well. I think at some point. So the reason I think he might do it, and I think I said this last time, is that the bikes are so much better than they used to be, right? So like, I was doing a quick kind of back of the napkin bit of math this morning, trying to figure out how much air volume has increased from about 15 years ago when guys were running 25s, 28s, to like a 34 now, which is I think is what we're going to see a lot of at Roubaix this year. It's almost twice as much air in your tire. Right? It's almost exactly twice as much air in your tire, actually. And it makes a massive, massive, massive difference. I've ridden the Arenberg Forest on 28s, and it almost killed me. I've ridden the Arenberg Forest on 32s, and it was a difficult 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it was, 6.5, I think it is. But nowhere near as difficult as it was before. And you can even see in this video, granted, he's right at the start of the Arenberg, which is not the worst part. But you can even see in this video, he's not getting bounced around all that much, right? So basically, my theory is that as the bikes get better, as the tires get bigger, as that sort of kind of levels the playing field at Roubaix, and it makes it so it kind of broadens the type of rider that could potentially do well there, to the point where all of a sudden, you know, a guy who can win the Tour de France can also win Roubaix, which we haven't seen in a very long time.
Where do you think Pogačar and UAE Team Emirates like risk evaluation is at? Because that's the thing, right? Even if it's like an easier ride over the cobbles, less chance of, you know, himself going down, there's a bunch of other people all, you know, accelerating into that forest. Although there was stuff about the extra. Are they bringing back the chicane thing this year?
It's not going to be a chicane, but it's going to be like a slight detour. I think it's through the parking lot that we've parked in before. I think they fixed it.
Oh yes, okay.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is that has Pogačar won the Tour enough times now to risk it all for a Paris-Roubaix? I think maybe. Yeah. You know, he wants to tick it all off.
I'm sure he'll do it someday. Yeah.
That's the flip side of Kit's argument, in that if he does injure himself at Roubaix, they've got that many other riders at UAE, they could still win the Tour de France.
Yeah.
Although Adam Yates got beat today, so
we'll get to that later though.
Yeah, no, I said, you know, adding some footprints, stepping stones.
I think the risk reward question is ultimately where it's at here. We all know Pogačar loves to race, and it'll come down to, after Flanders, would he rather risk Roubaix for the glory that comes with that? And I think Pogačar himself would. Would he rather go for the reward at Roubaix and risk the Tour?
And let's face it, when he broke his wrist, it was in the most innocuous part of Liège. You know, the very early goings, before TV coverage has started. He just toppled over. And those slow motion crashes are quite often the heaviest. Well, not quite often, but they can be this weird sort of unlucky incidents. So maybe there's an element of, why not? And actually, I saw Isaac Del Toro apparently was told by Pogačar when he asked for some advice, or maybe there was a kind of, what advice would you offer, Isaac Del Toro? And unsurprisingly, Pogačar said, just don't be too serious. And I feel like that sort of, I mean, that's not a surprising mindset.
What does that remind you of? Who does that remind you of?
Well, there we go. Peter Sagan.
Peter Sagan had that tattooed on him.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why so serious with the Joker?
Kaylee, you've watched the video. What did you think his style on the cobbles? There was something about it. He looked fantastic, but he also didn't look like a Roubaix winner, I don't think.
Well, he's way too small.
Like, no, but I mean, even it was just like he was overgeared, and
I mean, I think he would need some work, right? But I mean, he's probably, well, we know, like he's got the highest power to weight of anybody on the peloton, right? The question, I think, is whether he would have the raw power. I mean, I remember talking about this with Taylor Phinney. I think it was after Roubaix, actually. We were both on the same flight flying down to Spain. And he was just saying that it was like the one race that worked for him, because he, as he put it, I think he said he was like 14 water bottles heavier than Sepp Van Mark or something like that, right? Wow. And he's like, you start to do the math on that. It's like, so he couldn't win Flanders. He was too big to win Flanders, which we don't necessarily think of as a climber's race, right? But, you know, Flanders, like we used to talk about Valverde potentially winning Flanders. Roubaix is a very different animal, where it's not power to weight. It's power to smoothness, to aerodynamics, right? He is an aero rider. I don't think the question is really, could he do it? I think he absolutely could do it, right? I think the question is whether he wants to. Probably does. And then from there, if he's sort of working down the decision tree, it's just what year does he pick to
rainbow jersey though in the Roubaix Velodrome.
So this was my thing. It was like, all right, just picture this, you know, black shorts, because white shorts are sacrilege.
Pogačar would turn up in white shorts.
Yeah, he'll be white shorts.
Horrible. Black shorts, white rainbow bands, cruising across the Arenberg. Pogačar, like, put it straight in my veins. It's amazing. I would be I would be so stoked to see that. And I think it'd be good for the sport, right? Those guys racing more stuff is always good for the sport.
We can't have another year of Van der Poel just winning both races.
No.
Could we have a year of Pogačar winning Flanders, Roubaix,
Giro,
Vuelta and Tour? He's not going to Giro, and then win the rainbow bands again. There'll be a lot of people shouting in the comment section.
Okay, but here's the other side. Like, so there's still an argument now, even now, that he's maybe not the best Grand Tour rider of this era, right? We don't really like. You could make an argument that if both are at full strength, maybe Vingegaard gets him, right? And so I think for sort of posterity and his legacy, doing something like winning Roubaix would just put him, in a different stratosphere.
We don't want him to change, do we? I mean, one thing that is certain from this is it's confirmation of his sense of humor, because he knows that, he's all right. Tim, should we go over to Roubaix? It's that he knows that it's going to be light up. It's not
that close either.
No,
it's like if they were up, so they were up riding Flanders, right? We know that they were up riding Flanders. It's at least like probably an hour ride down there just to ride at Arenberg and then ride across the Arenberg and ride straight back up. Which
my point is more like they likely have a team classics training camp in that area this week, and so the riders going to Roubaix, whether Pogačar is one of them or not, are probably there also, and so reconning Roubaix. And if it's in if they're staying in Kortrijk, it's 15 minutes. It's not an hour.
Well, if you ride down, I'm saying if you ride down, yeah. The Arenberg's a bit south of Roubaix proper, anyway. So, anyway,
I mean, I'm just one point though. Like, I'm not convinced he can win it. No, he's. I mean, I think we're convinced because he does whatever he wants, but everybody has a limit. And I'm.
Well, then it would be really good to see his limit.
Yeah, I still want to see him participate, but I don't know if he can win.
When was the last time we saw Tadej Pogačar get dropped in a one day?
Britannia 2020.
Good knowledge.
Let me ask you this, Kelly. When was the last time we seen him poorly positioned in a key sector of a one day race?
Yeah.
And I would say that was Milan-San Remo last year. And if you do that once in Roubaix.
Mm-hmm.
It could cost you. If you do it multiple times in Roubaix, it's game over.
I was only saying that to make the point that actually it would be kind of fun to watch him get dropped. Like, it would be exciting. It'd be great racing, right?
I'm sure there's been a time since the example I was trying to conjure up, but he just won the Tour. He'd just done, and I think he had just won the Tour. So it must have been, and I don't think it was last year. I think it must have been 3 years ago. But he just won the Tour. He went to the Britannia West Classic, that World Tour race, the odd French World Tour race in Brittany. Great race, actually, with some of the gravel sections. And he was thoroughly dropped, and he looked like a shadow of himself. And it was just like, and everyone went bananas about it, because we don't see that happen unless Wout van Aert is pulling him up a mountain, and he's broken his wrist. But it's, I think, I don't know. I think if luck's on his side and Van der Poel's having an off day and Van Aert's injured and Mads Pedersen, I don't know, is off the back, then if the stars align, he's certainly got it in him to win Paris-Roubaix, I reckon.
Oh, yeah.
But again, it's all the what ifs.
All right, to wrap up this segment here,
probably.
To wrap up this, stakes in the sand. We'll pull this audio, come April when it's time.
Bad takes exposed.
I need 2 answers from all of you. 1, will he do it? Will he race it? And 2, if he does, will he win it?
No.
Soft, Johnny.
I think yes, no.
Yes, no?
Rainbow bands. And he's got time to recover.
You can't have a no yes. So there's only so many answers we can have here.
This is true.
Ronan?
I was going to be smart and say maybe and no, but I'm going to say yes, he will race it, and no, he won't win it.
And obviously, yes, he will race it, and yes, he will win it, is where I'm at.
Okay,
Look
cool.
at that.
There we go. Just so that you're right if it does happen. And
absolutely.
You can live off that for years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, that would give me, 3-4 years? I could
probably
continue to come back to that one. All right. I hope so. Anyway, it would be fun, and we like fun things here at Spin Cycle Podcast. So let's move on to another fun thing. No, this isn't fun. This is horrible. Visma's running time trial helmets in road races. Ronan, explain yourself.
Yeah, I gave them this idea about a week ago, and it took them 3 days to implement it, and immediately delivered a stage 1. So I think Escape Collective can take all the credit for this.
Tell us what's happened here.
Nicholas Behrens, the under 23 world champion and new recruit at Visma Lease a Bike, was seen racing in stage 1 of the Tour of Man at the weekend wearing the Giro Arrowhead time trial helmet. Now, not the huge one that was on last year, like the original Giro
That
head.
would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious, and that has been the running topic of conversation in the Escape Collective Aero TT Discord channel since the weekend.
There's a channel for that.
There's a channel for Aero TT, and there's also a channel for Performance Process.
Is there a channel for Aero TT?
Aero TT is just Ronan talking to himself.
I'm missing out on a good time.
No, I can't. I can hardly keep up with the conversation in there. It is riveting.
Lord.
You're saying that in a sarcastic way, as if you're not there, like getting individual message notifications.
Stoking the flames.
I was trying to think if riveting was a strong enough word. It genuinely. I mean, Performance Process channel has
I mean, that is the best part.
Hanging out in it.
Now, this is now become a sales pitch. That is actually the coolest part about our member Discord. It's like there's all these little bits of it that you can just sort of dive into with your fellow nerds. Like I tend to spend most of my time in the Spin Cycle one. We talk about the podcast, etc. But yeah, Ronan's in all sorts of fascinating,
crazy
sections.
Anyway, what happened was this Vismalisa bike rider raced a road stage with a time trial helmet.
It's not just that he switched it halfway through. That's the real
which is actually against the rules, no?
Is it?
To not wear a helmet at some point. So to switch a helmet, you have to not wear a helmet for some point.
Did he stop?
Maybe
it's a bit like the same question. Like if you're removing a casquette, are you not wearing a helmet for that second? And I think
people have been done for it. Geraint Thomas got done for it in the Giro, didn't he?
What if he had a bee
when it rained? But anyway,
bee flies in.
I think the correct course of action is to stop your bicycle, remove the helmet, change the helmet, and recommence cycling.
Anyway, back to the point.
We're at 2 anyways already this segment. Let's keep going.
Which was something that we had predicted in an Escape Collective article a few days earlier might happen this season, because we had spotted Wout van Aert doing what seemed to be aero testing in a velodrome with a time trial helmet, but seemingly not testing his time trial position based on various different factors that we had identified. So that was quickly proven to be true. And interestingly, it was only Behrens who wore the helmet on Saturday. And then the other riders on his team, including Olaf Koy, who won the stage, was wearing like a more regular aero road helmet. But they were all seen, having a big old song and dance and a laugh and a joke about the use of a time trial helmet immediately post stage. But I think what was more interesting was like the Soigneur immediately took the time trial helmet from Behrens and was holding it while everybody else was still wearing their helmets. So I don't know if that was to do with heat buildup inside it or wanting to keep it under wraps or whatever. But I mean, it was never going to stay quiet.
No.
Or the aesthetic crimes, perhaps.
Yeah.
It's not that bad, Keely.
No, it
really is not.
It's awful.
It is bad. And how far away are we now from a sprinter wearing like a TT helmet?
I mean, that should have been what happened. The fact that Olaf Koy didn't wear it is just, you have your lead out rider wear it, fair enough. But if Koy had lost that stage by a millimeter, you would directly be able to say, had he wore the time trial helmet, he could have won.
I think if we're going to rank bad things in cycling at the minute, state sponsorship of teams who have bad vibes. Then we have all of the cycling going behind a paywall on TV, and then we have the possibility of sprinters wearing time trial helmets. if we're being honest with ourselves, it would be an abomination.
From worst to best, you mean?
It is an abomination, and I like the Zach Edwardsism that if everybody is wearing an aero helmet, then no one is wearing an aero helmet. So
everybody isn't.
Can we?
But everybody isn't.
Well, yeah, but then they will, and then we'll have to look at them, and it'll be horrible. And so, can we just say no? Your helmet has to have holes in it. It has to be on this list of approved, not horrible-looking helmets.
It's another example of poorly written UCI rules. And I know I'm a broken record about this stuff, but it's like the UCI have just assumed that nobody would ever do this, so they haven't specifically said you can't do this. And while you don't say that, it was eventually going to happen. And I think, on Escape Collective, we have called numerous times for there should be a helmet approval process, the exact same as a frame approval process. Not the exact same, sorry. It should actually have some sort of impact testing and safety standards attached to it. The frame approval process is purely just approving that the frame looks how the UCI think it should. But a helmet approval process should exist and should be used to set, here are the standards for helmets to be used in cycling. Because that's not currently something the helmet manufacturers even agree on.
Kaylee, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Would you accept all riders, or most of them, or at least a few, wearing time trial helmets in road races if we never had to have a time trial in a stage race again?
Oh, maybe. No. I wouldn't take it. Because the time trial day, I can just sort of take a nap, and it's great. But the helmets I'd have to look at every day.
That keeps you up at night, yeah.
That would be
Can
horrible.
we all get to suggest something that Kelly could maybe trade? So you want to keep time trials, fair enough. But would you accept time trial helmets like this one in road stages if it meant we would never again have something like the specialized head sock?
Oh.
in regular time trials.
No, because I've given up on regular time trials. I've given up. Like, if they want to look like flying sperm, go for it.
You should have to wear that helmet. You should have to wear that the more recent Giro helmet. You shouldn't be able to wear the one that can kind of get away with it if you don't know what you're looking at. You have to wear like the weird ones.
So, Johnny, you kickstarted this argument by saying that it looks ridiculous, and now your argument is they should wear the more ridiculous of the Giro time trial helmets.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, because why do things by half measures? Like, either go for it or don't. You know.
I get the point, but I don't think the helmet worn on Saturday looked that bad. I think you're more afraid of where it would go than how it looked on Saturday.
Was it Jan Ulrich? There's a great video. I think it was maybe Jan, who is wearing just a cap, just a cycling cap, and right before the start of his time trial, he just turns it backwards.
Yeah,
and that's his aerodynamics. That's what we want to get back to. That's what we want to get back to.
I had an Escape Collective member message me a question about how many watts that would have saved. And
I don't think it was Jan. Actually,
I think you should write.
It was Jan Ulrich.
Was it?
Okay. And a long answer later, I got a message back thanking me because that was the type of considered response that they had expected.
Well, I would like to petition for that article to be published, for that response to be published on Escape Collective, because I want to read it.
Can't believe that's not story already.
I mean, it probably helped fill the gap behind his head a little bit. Right, because it was old school cycling cap with a flip up.
Well, it might have flipped off.
No, and then we also had quite a lot of requests to discuss the physics of lift at some point, like how in the 80s they would keep the cap right on the top of their head,
like a chef's hat.
Like how is it staying there at 40k an hour? How did this
because
work?
They were so unaerodynamic they couldn't hit 40k an hour.
Bring it back. All right.
Well, the last thing on this nonsense is that there was that thing posted today where the UCI has changed the clothing regulations, starting from the start of this month, where it prohibits riders from wearing any unnecessary clothing. So you can't have towels or bubble wrap to artificially enlarge their stomach.
I mean, this is the exact problem. So the UCI talks about fair and equitable access to technology and aero advancements and this, that, and the other. And then the one thing that is proven to work for everybody, that is free of charge to do, that is basically on the untrained eye won't even spot it. They go around and make a whole big song and dance and ban it. It's like even the most underfunded of teams could wrap up a towel and stick it down their chest and get a significant aero gain.
Well, people are just start using bead-ons or ice socks instead.
But I mean, the other thing about it is that they usually wrap their radios inside them. And so then the radio was wrapped in something soft. Now what the UCI is saying, no, we want this thing to be able to break your ribs so that we can look like something we think cycling should look like.
Tell us how you really think, Ronan.
Beyond ridiculous.
I actually kind of agree with Ronan on this one, which I shouldn't, but yeah,
it's a good argument.
If you want to stick a towel down your skin suit, I think
would you see more? I mean, what if you've got a raincoat and you're meant to take it back to the car, but you haven't had a chance?
What if you're Geraint Thomas and just as you're about to roll down the start ramp, you realize you're wearing a gilet, and then because you're wearing a skin suit, you have nowhere to put it but down the front of your skin suit? should he be allowed to start the Tour de France or be declined to start?
Throw it in the crowd. Throw it in the crowd.
Yeah. That is littering, Kelly. We cannot have littering.
That's actually they are clamping down on that. All right. So the end is nigh. There's going to be time trial helmets in road racing. We're going to have to look at it. It is, to be clear, Ronan's fault. Maybe a little bit of like Dan, you think, like Dan Bagels, maybe some of his fault.
I'm taking the credit for this one, as I posted over the weekend a picture of me 5 years ago doing the exact same thing. The good news though is, Kitty, it's too expensive to see this happening, so it won't be that big a problem. We won't, unless we publish photos of this on Escape Collective. Nobody will actually know that they're wearing time trial helmets in road races.
They will, because they'll claw their eyes out.
Amidst all this, the future is bad. Do you know who's keeping it real and holding it down?
Uh-oh.
XDS Astana.
Ah, yes. Keeping it real, always.
Keeping it real. Excellent segue, Johnny.
So
Thank
real.
you for pulling us out of that death spiral. All right. What is Astana lying about?
Everything.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
It's not. I mean, it's allegedly. They are lying through their teeth. But anyway, carry on, Johnny.
I've got the post up here. So this is from the Instagram account Cycling Spy, which is about cycling tech, but it's such a good account that even I have clicked the big follow button, because it's basically telling on people.
Have we ever seen Ronan and Cycling Spy in the same room? Are we?
Ooh.
We'll find out.
I've never seen Cycling Spy in my house or in this room. No, I want to clarify, because I do not want to take the credit for what is a great account.
It's a great account.
No.
Absolutely.
Yes. I get message once a week asking me, "Is it me?" It is not me.
Really? Basically, it's an account that posts mostly screenshots and videos on new tech things, or in this instance, finding and calling out an XDS Astana rider for using sponsor incorrect wheels, but dressing it up to be sponsor incorrect. And not just that, because that's kind of fairly common, like it's not that surprising, but they've taken the old bike from last year and done it up to look like an X-Lab bike, which is their new bike for this year, which is seems like a lot of effort rather than just trying to get the right bike to the rider. And then what's even better than this is then Astana have dived headfirst into the comments to say, "This is not an Astana rider. If you have proof, please provide us the original of this picture or video. Otherwise, please do not mislead people." And it's like, considering they're riding next to a Bora Hansgrohe rider, and this guy
also
looks
completely, completely sponsor correct,
head to toe, and looks like a pro.
Mm-hmm.
Has pro butt.
Pro butt.
And I think I'm now. I don't know. I said before we started recording that I think it might be Evgeny Fedorov, and I'm standing by that, because Evgeny Fedorov is 6'3". This chap is tall. The Red Bull rider next to him is minuscule by comparison. I mean, look at the seat stays besides anything else, and the size of the frame is diddy. But yeah, so I think it's former under 23 world champion Evgeny Fedorov, and Astana are lying.
My favorite part of this, do we know Ronan? So XDS, the new sponsor of Astana, they make lots of other brands' bikes. That's what they do. They're kind of like Giant, because that's what it is.
I don't know if they make Willier's frames, but what is clear from this photo is that this is a Willier Zero SLR. It is in Astana colors. It is, I'm going to assume, one of last year's team bikes, given that last year Astana raced on Willier Zero SLRs in Astana team colors. And it has been, they've taken all the Willier decals and logos and that off it, and they've replaced it with X Labs logos that actually integrate quite well with the frame. But when you look at the wheels, you know that is a Vision sticker that's been applied to set.
I mean, I wouldn't know. They would have gone away with it.
You could probably look at it and go, those decals look very...
Yeah, it does look odd.
Yeah. Whereas the frame, unless you know what you're looking at, it looks normal enough. But yeah, it's like, it's the entire.
We don't actually care. Well. We don't care. We don't. You're welcome to run last year's bike if you really want to. The funny part about this was Astana dropping into the comments and accusing Cycling Spy of lying and demanding proof. We're like, it's a photo or a video. That is the proof. The proof is literally in the post.
Yeah.
That is the proof.
Could be AI, Kelly. Somebody could have. I mean, the two explanations for Astana stance here are either that it is an AI generated photo, or which it clearly I don't think is, or somebody has got all of this year's Astana team kit that presumably is not on sale yet, including the socks and the matching helmet, and then has gone
and
to the ball
perfectly
of getting
white shoes as well. I mean, only pros have perfectly white shoes.
White.
Yeah, and looks like a pro in a pro position,
and found a Bora Hansgrohe rider to ride with.
Or another pal who's got the complete set of Bora Hansgrohe kit.
Yeah.
But beyond all of those things that are somewhat plausible, they have then decided to take a perfectly good Willier frame and repaint it. It just makes...
Oh, it's amazing.
That's the sort of dedication you don't get anywhere.
You can mark down XDS Astana as conspiracy theorists in your bingo cards, folks.
I think if you're that big a fan and you've gone to the baller to get all these other things to match the team kit, you're probably just going to get yourself an X-Lab bike also, or an XDS bike.
Maybe it's not out yet. Maybe it's not out. This follows a story a couple of weeks ago where it was an interview with Alexander Vinokourov, the team boss, who has been asked about basically Astana facing almost certain relegation. They'd have to like win every single bike race, and everyone else would have to win no bike races to not get relegated from the World Tour. And Vinokourov, very defiant, sort of like, well, we wouldn't turn up to the season till the races if we didn't think we had a chance of keeping our World Tour status. So maybe they've just decided to completely, disassociate from reality. Which kind of, I get that. I don't hate that as a strategy for life and work.
Yeah, I would stress here that any listeners who just heard me say brilliant, I was not referring to Astana's relegation as being brilliant. I was referring to Vinokourov's believe in yourself approach to the 2025 season.
Because if you were taking the piss out of the relegation, this guy who's not an Astana pro and a super fan, he'll be knocking at your door kit. You can guarantee that.
All joking aside, I mean, it is. I think what's happened here is probably XDS, who are a huge manufacturer, obviously, but it is still such a monumental task to supply a World Tour team with bikes, let alone supply a World Tour team with bikes in one of your first seasons in, let's say, the European pro scene. And I think it would be pretty understandable if all of those bikes hadn't come through yet, if the bike that they decided that they had to make after they decided to sponsor a World Tour team wasn't yet manufactured in sufficient quantities to kit out that team, that might make sense. And I think that's actually what's happened here.
But then why waste your time, like, with the lying? It makes it.
Yeah. I can't answer
that. It looks worse than just riding the Villiers from last year.
You know what the other thing is? See, if they had not commented that, we wouldn't even be talking about this. So it's just like...
So true.
They do care deeply. But
this is like the last year. Do you remember when Ineos had a new Pinarello on top of the car, on top of the Grenadier, and then Road CC did that amazing video where you had various Ineos staff like they were a disgraced politician just covering the camera up. So it's like, why put the bikes on top of the car if you don't want people to see them?
Why is it on the roof?
It's the same weird logic of this whole thing where you have to paint the bike correct. It's so weird.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Oh,
I've got the vernier calipers out.
Oh, good.
This rider might not be a pro.
Why?
Uh-oh.
Why?
Because his socks they're right on the limit of the UCI sock height rule.
So this is a fan who is diligently following the rules as well.
No, well, I can't be certain. I'm using vernier calipers on a screenshot on a phone. So it seems plausible to me that his socks are too tall. And thus he clearly could not be a professional blue rider.
I see. I get it. I'm with you.
The anger from these things does filter down. I'm going to leave the name out of this, but I think I've maybe told the story in a podcast at some point. Back in the day, I was shooting a rain gallery at the Giro. It rained that morning, taking a bunch of photos of the various things that the riders are doing to try to stay warm and dry.
Good day's work job done.
Yeah, great. Being a tech writer, oh man, Ronan, I miss those days. I just wandered around with the camera. Anyway, I took his photo of a South African rider's hands, and he had non-sponsor correct gloves on. I think he had Castelli's on, and they were sponsored by Pearl Zumi at the time, which you could probably figure out who this rider is. And then it came back to me the next day via an American that I knew that he had threatened to stab me for putting this on the internet.
Wow. Okay, tell us who it was in After Dark, because I can't be bothered to have to go and search through.
Stab you in the hand, wasn't it?
Stabbed me somewhere. To be clear, I think it was one. I've never been stabbed, so it was a threat that he did not follow through on.
Probably joking.
But that I tell that story to sort of illustrate like how much. So he was pissed because he got in a bunch of trouble, right? And so it does filter down, and like the sponsors have paid a ton of money for this exposure, and then
to wear your shite gloves.
Yeah, well, the absolute worst thing that can happen is not that you're not using their stuff; it's that they're using someone else's. Right? It's a big deal when that basically like that money is what keeps the whole sport going at this point. And so we joke about it, but like somebody probably got an earful for this one. That said, honesty is the best policy, and they should have just been like, yeah, he doesn't get his bike yet, it's coming,
or at least like that. Don't go so hard.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like the idea from the South African rider of doing the very Saudi thing. Instead of doing an eye for an eye, it's like a photo of hand. I'll have his hand for the photo of the hand.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about bike racing, because bike racing has been happening. We've got sprinters, we've got climbers, we've got updates. Let's get to it when we get back. Welcome back, everybody. All right, so Kit, we've had Valenciana, we've had Oman, we've had a couple other sprints happen over the last week or so. We should do a little sprinter update. Who's looking good? Who's not? Who do we think is going to be dominating sprints through the 2025 season? What have we seen so far?
Dominating is a hard question to ask at this point.
Who's going to win them?
Okay, well, at the Alula Tour we had Tim Merlier winning a bit, and he's a consistent guy. He's reliable. He doesn't win everything, but when he wins convincingly. Then this weekend we've had the conclusion of the Volta Valenciana, and then the beginning of the Tour of Oman. And in Valenciana, Jonathan Milan, who had a great year last year in his first year with Little Trek, is obviously starting off in great form this year. And what's particularly interesting about his multiple wins in Valenciana, or multiple performances in Valenciana, is that he came, what stage was it? On stage 4, which was won by eventual overall winner Santiago Buitrago. Jonathan Milan came second in an uphill. It wasn't a climb, but it's an uphill finish, and it's not insignificant of a ramp. So rather like Filippo Ganna, who would really like to win Milan-San Remo, Jonathan Milan has perhaps been practicing going uphill. But so again, we're seeing more consistency from last year. Olaf Koy winning in Oman as well with his TT helmet wearing friend. And yeah, so then also in Valenciana, Buitrago and Almeida had a nice little battle. So the beginning of the climbing showdown has begun. That's a very badly formatted, a very badly created sentence. Anyway, and then in Oman today, David Gaudu got one over on Adam Yates, which is quite pleasing. Adam Yates, who we always talk about as being, the heir to anything that UAE does if Pogačar falls over.
So Adam Yates, after the race, said that he is maybe, because he won the race last year. I was there. Adam Yates was happy to win, but also very annoyed that he then had to do so many podiums and interviews afterwards. Like, it was an almost instant regret of winning a bike race, which you don't see that often. Poor guy. But he admitted that he's come in a bit undercooked. Like his preparations have been delayed compared to last year, so he's probably not on his top form. And if you watched David Gaudu after he won, how he sort of collapsed at the side of the barriers after the finish line, that effort and that victory maybe cost him nearly everything, which I don't hate. It's good to see David Gaudu winning again. I think he probably needed a decent win against some decent competition to get Marc Madio to believe again. But I'm very up for David Gaudu coming back into our sort of, our lives, the narrative of the season. Especially, have you seen his new sunglasses?
Oh, he's really embracing his new look. Yeah,
the top knot, and now the top knot's still there. Yeah, and then the gold steampunk glasses. Yeah, man bun, top knot, interchangeable. But yeah, gold steampunk glasses is
and they're probably extraordinarily expensive, not least because he has a strong prescription.
Yes, so true. I hadn't even considered that.
Can we return to the sprinters real quick? Not that I ever want to take us away from David Gaudu, because we love talking about David Gaudu. And also, my hair is approaching man bun length, and I've considered just showing up to the classics and seeing you guys with a man bun. What do you think?
It might make me feel a bit ill, but I'm sure
I might, maybe not. We'll see. Anyway, I wanted to return to Jonathan Milan because one of the things about him that has really fascinated me is his form, his sprint form, and how historically it's been kind of awful, right? Like, he's sort of notorious for the head bob, like the really
he's all over
vicious,
the bike,
vicious head bob all over the bike. He's a big boy, right? He's a large rider, and so when he's got his head kind of going up and down, like porpoising, basically, like he's a dolphin coming in and out of the sea. I was wondering if this year, if he would have worked on that, because there's no way that that's the fastest way to get across the line, right? One, every time his head comes up, it's going to slow him down aerodynamically, right? Like you compare that to like a Cav or a Caleb Ewan. I think Caleb Ewan was probably the premier example of like probably doing a third less watts than Jonathan Milan, but way better aerodynamically. Anyway, if you go watch the end of, I think it was the third stage of Valenciana that he won. I think so. Fifth. Anyway, if you go look at that, I think he's working on it. I think his head is bobbing less than it used to, and that makes me think not only the improvement in sort of style or technique, but also the fact that, like you said, Kit, he second on an uphill drag there. I think we're going to see a lot of Jonathan Milan.
Well, he's going to the Tour de France instead of Mads Pedersen this year.
I think he's one to. I think he's going to. I think he's going to break out. Is basically what I'm saying. I'm putting my.
Yeah, he was bloody brilliant.
He had his breakout. Yeah, on the DSM Firmenich Post NL TIAGOYP WD WB TCC WOLUUNT.
Yeah, but he is
ITL team.
He's not a guy. He's not been
considered the top. He's not been considered the top sprinter yet, and I think he's going to maybe get to that point this season. I think.
Again, all your takes out.
He's got a huge program this year. UAE Tour, KBK, Tirreno, Milan-San Remo, Ghent-Wevelgem, Vals-d'Or-Valandre, and Paris-Roubaix Tour de France. I mean, that's the elite.
I think he dominated the Giro last year, which had some good sprinters. Granted, Olaf Koy went home early, but I think Milan has been on his way up and has always had Olympics or some other target that has taken him away from the road for a bit each year. And if this is his first full year, fully focused on the road, I think, stands to reason that he will step up again. But Kelly, I have a counter question for you. If he's no longer bobbing his head up and down, and every time it comes up, he's a bit less aerodynamic, is he now keeping it down and being more aerodynamic, or is he keeping it up and being not a little bit more aerodynamic every time it goes down?
He's just sort of level.
Given his track history, that his aerodynamic knowledge, which surely he must have, hasn't really transferred into the sprint. So I know it's a different discipline, but
he's not like I'm not going to say he looks like prime Caleb Ewan when he's sprinting anymore. He hasn't gone to that extent. He's just there were stages last year where it looked like he was literally going to fall off of his bicycle in the middle of the sprint.
Correct.
Right? And
foot backwards.
Yeah, and like he still doesn't look particularly. He still looks like a Marcel Kittel.
Well, he's got he's got enormously long limbs, so it looks like he's all over everywhere anyway.
But I'm just saying he looks tidier than he did last year.
I think it's also it's a misconception that we often have, is like it's you're not aerodynamic, fix it, go do something about it. It's kind of like asking someone to change a style like that to being much more controlled and being much smaller. And with the power he's producing and the way he produces it, he probably just isn't capable to some extent. No doubt it could be optimized in some way, but I think it's easier said than it's like, Dan Bigham has a CDA of 0.15 or whatever, and it's like, I'll just go and do that. Yeah, good luck.
Yeah,
to
well,
you. That's not happening.
There's a certain degree of, I don't know, naturalness as well. It's like if you try and change. Yeah, exactly. If you try and change your walk, you have to really think about it. And so if you have to do that while you're sprinting, you're gonna.
Have you done that before, Kit?
Well,
no, but I
once tried to walk on my hands.
I remember being very aware of my walk when I did a gait analysis in a running shop. I was very, very, very aware of how I was walking. And being aware is really weird.
Like you look at like the slow-mo of like 100-meter sprinter, right? The runner, right? And that the form they've got there is a trained thing. They didn't just pop out running
because
like
they do nothing else for 4 years. There's they've got the time.
But I'm saying that, like, I don't think it's impossible for Milan.
But when they get to the end of the sprint, they look like they're trying to fly towards the line, and their arms go all over the place. No, you see them coming across the line like they're doing a front crawl.
There is some level of instinct kicks in as well. It's like you like, even myself, I know when you're sprinting for the line in a time trial, you're better to stay in your time trial position with less watts, because it'll be a net faster result. But the temptation just to get out and give it everything.
You want to feel like you've given it everything rather than actually
feeling fast.
Permission to quickly put my conspiracy hat on and to invite you all to do the same. So we've mentioned about Jonathan Milan going to the Tour this year in place of Mads Pedersen. Mads Pedersen's contract with Little Trek, or current contract, is up at the end of 2025, at the end of this year. Is he signing for another team? Jonathan Milan's contract up at the end of 2026. Are they trying to convince him by giving him this great, race schedule, letting him go to the Tour de France, that he should sign a big new deal, potentially with a lot of money that maybe is being vacated by Mads Pedersen? Is Mads Pedersen going to Uno X maybe, as soon as they really want to keep hold of their Tour de France wildcard?
Well, if they go up, they're not going to go up to World Tour, are they? But yeah, it's an interesting shout.
There we go.
I don't think that's a conspiracy, John. I think that's
breaking news. You heard it here first.
Back there, like, I can't see any flaws in that reasoning whatsoever.
There we go.
Before we break for a break, quick update. A friend just texted me this. Jasper Philipsen has commented underneath Pogačar's video.
Right, saying what?
Says, please not. With a little like.
See, but that could be choreographed as well, because they're good pals, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's happened before too, hasn't
it? That's another good t-shirt idea after the hoodie last week, where it's like all day work, not much money. Just please not.
With the rainbow bands, please not.
Yeah, rainbow bands, please not. I would wear that.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, Bernal, double national champion. Welcome back, everybody. Egan Bernal, 2-time Colombian national champion in one weekend. Won the time trial, won the road race. Great news. This was pretty much it.
It's awesome.
We're just excited for him. We're excited for him.
He won by 2 minutes 16 seconds in the road race, and it's not the least.
Yeah, I don't want to do the like. Is he back? Is he back?
No, Kelly. We have to do that, because 2 years ago you forced me to write an article on the eve of the Tour de France,
force you
asking if he was back.
Power data, yeah.
I'm now going to get you to do the same. Tell us.
Well, then he's back. He's back.
Well,
he's back.
I was quite careful to not.
The Tour de France this year.
Yeah. Well, okay, but this is Kelly with his hot takes again. No, but what it is though is it he's won the time trial at the Colombian National Championships once before, in 2018, which was he wasn't yet a Tour de France winner. He was 21. He was going to be the next big thing in Grand Tour racing, and I don't think anyone's deceiving themselves into thinking that he's going to be he's going to join Pogačar and Vingegaard in the battle for the yellow jersey necessarily, and we won't know until he turns up in Europe, which apparently will be next week. But yeah, it's brilliant news for him to win for the first time since the Giro d'Italia, and 3 years since his 3 years and 2 weeks since his horrible crash. So it's a fantastic end of chapter, and yeah, he has been on a steady rise since his crash of recovery. So if that upward trend continues, then maybe he'll get a Queen Stage win or a Mountains jersey or something, and that would be epic. And that's an overused word, yeah, but yeah, it would be amazing.
How old is he?
28.
Huh. Separately, Van der Poel and Wout van Aert are both now 30 years old, which is almost as depressing as being 30 myself now. Anyway, Egan Bernal, his first victory in over 1,000 days. More interestingly, these are technically Ineos's first victories for about 215 days. Do we think a 2-minute 16 time gap to a Team Median EPM rider is enough to say that Bernal is back? Do we think that the field he beat translates? I know it's a horrible thing to say. Someone's got to say it.
But that's
I'm that guy apparently
just getting a win. He has raced the Colombian National Championship. I'm not saying he is back, but I'm saying he's more back than he maybe has been.
The national level, the national circuit in Colombia is not known for being squeaky clean. So I, like you look down the list. There's a bunch of other World Tour pros in there. There's guys from Movistar. Harold Tejada is in there from Astana, et cetera, et cetera. So like there's other World Tour pros in there, and then there's a bunch of sort of grandos from the national circuit.
This is libelous to the.
And I would just say that
some of them are former World Tour.
Yeah, there's just
actually, I take that back. I think one of them is former World Tour, and I think somewhat dubious. So yeah, carry on.
It's entirely possible that he beat some guys who were not.
Look, Sergio Higuita wasn't there, who was there last year and finished second. That's what I would say.
I think the important thing here is not just that he won, but how much he won by.
So you think that's enough?
I don't think that's enough to tell us for certain, but he didn't win in a photo finish.
Yes, and that'd be like he's very much not back.
Yeah, I don't think it would tell us either way, but it's a step closer to it's an impressive victory. It's a statement of where he's at the moment in both road race and time trial. And the Colombian Nationals is, I'm gonna guess, is not the easiest Nationals to win. But just counter argument, Keely, having been one of the national level guys, mixing it with World Tour pros and nationals, it's doable. It's doable clean, I can tell you that much. You don't need to be up to any tricks or whatever. I can also tell you that the World Tour guys aren't always all that psyched for a national championships where there's like
they are control. In Colombia.
When I say no control, I mean no race control with teams. I don't mean that there's no doping control.
Have you seen the course profile?
Yeah, it's nuts. 237 kilometers of just 8.1 2-kilometer climbs.
But it's an incredibly huge deal for the Colombian riders. Remember when Chavez won a few years ago? Yeah, that's
that. And then you get whatever ads I'm getting for Sixt because I was just booking cars in Belgium. But yeah, look at this.
Woo. Yeah, vicious.
Oh, and look, the advert gets bigger as you zoom in. Isn't that nice? Yeah, that looks painful and punishing.
Yeah, super hard. Anyway, whether he's back or not. Yeah, whether he's back or not, whatever. We're just happy to see. We're happy to see him happy.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, we need like a list of riders that we are happy to see happy.
Yeah.
It's not that long.
Okay.
No.
I'll add it to my list.
Egan Bernal, Toms.
Yeah, Egan Bernal, Toms.
Julian Alaphilippe.
Julian Alaphilippe.
Well, the Brits.
Let's cut it off. We're gonna head to After Dark. In After Dark, we're gonna tell you who we're happy to see happy and maybe who we're not.
Oh, Andy
tried to stab you.
African rider tried to stab you.
Sorry, didn't try. Threatened.
No, I've got threatened via an intermediary. So
I've got an embarrassing thing to admit to as well.
Johnny's got an embarrassing thing. All right, we're going to head to After Dark. Of course, this is the section for members only. If you're not already a member, head over to escapecollective.com/member. Sign up. Get that member feed. If you're on the free version, we're out of here. if you're a member and you're on the member version, stick around. We're headed in After Dark.